meeting of the Information Technology Advisory Commission to order. We have a quorum in the room physically present, and we have Jackie and Andrea participating virtually on approved medical exemption from the chair. Jackie, would you tell us where you're participating from?
I am participating from my home in Arlington.
Thank you. And Andrea, would you tell us where you're participating from?
Yes, I'm at my home in Falls Church.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any public comment? No public comment. Okay. Do we have anyone to volunteer to take minutes? Prescott. We may need, thank you. We may not need minute takers going forward, but just to double cover us tonight. Tracy, our liaison, was able to take the transcript from November meeting and using AI generate meeting minutes for us. And she has offered to do that going forward if that works for us, which would be amazing and highly recommended service for the county to provide to all commissions going forward, which may or may not come up in my board budget recommendation comments. But just in case, since she's not here tonight, Prescott, if you could take some notes for us, I'd appreciate it.
We are recording.
Yeah.
We can do the AI.
Yeah, I just, double belt and suspenders for tonight until we've got it as standard operating procedure. All right. Adoption of the minutes. I sent around the November minutes or December minutes. Does anyone have any edits or comments to those?
I guess my only comment, I didn't check, but my legislative report can be appended to the minutes, right? Or should be, perhaps, if it's not fully incorporated into the actual.
Yeah, I thought we would be posting those as separate
okay.
artifacts, just because you're sending them around as separate artifacts.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. No, I just thought they should wind up somewhere.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Incorporated by reference.
Yeah, and just I would have Tracy post them as additional artifacts from our meeting on the website. Do I have a motion to adopt the minutes? So, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes for December are adopted as distributed. Chair's update. We have effectuated the change, and Mike is now our vice chair, and he joined me for meetings today with our board liaison. Maureen Coffey will remain the board liaison for our commission for the coming year. Good conversation with her about priorities for the upcoming year. The budget situation is going to be tight again. So we will do what we do and make some recommendations coming up here. We've been invited to a meeting with the county manager in February to initiate kind of the consultation with the commissions, and we will go through our normal process of drafting a letter together to send recommendations and participate in the DTS work session probably in March-ish, based on the published schedule. So that'll be the bulk of our work coming up for the next couple of meetings here. Mike, did you have anything else you wanted to share? Great. That's all I have for the chair's update. And now we have for our main event on the agenda tonight, Ms. Hartel and
Jeff Taylor.
And Mr. Taylor from DTS to give us a report on the Broadband Commission recommendations. A couple of years ago, the manager convened a managers advisory commission on the Broadband Advisory Commission. They made a report and some recommendations, and consistent with our work on broadband and the broadband feasibility study that came out this year. thought it would be good for us to have an update on what, if any, actions were taken as a result. So I'll turn it over to you for the presentation.
I'm actually going to turn it over to Jeff, but for all those don't, Holly Hartel, I'm acting CIO as of the end of the year, and I'm happy to be here. And many of you have seen me before through very different iterations. So I was involved with I wouldn't say the broadband study itself, but kind of at the end where things ended up landing, and several other initiatives, including the Safety Innovation Zone and the broadband study that we've most recently done with conjunction with some PhD. So here to help support Jeff, who is leading the networking team, which includes Connect Arlington. So this is why he will present to us. And Laura, who many of you all might know, is our deputy, and she also has been around from the beginning of Connect Arlington. So it's ideas, financing, and implementation. So some great resources here to help support the conversation.
Great.
Thanks, Holly. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and the rest of the commission members. My name is Jeff Taylor. I am the Division Chief for Infrastructure and Operations inside DTS. I've been with the county almost 10 years this summer. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting us. I have some brief notes, and then we'll open up to questions and go from there. And as Holly said, Laura's got probably the most history on Connect Arlington of anyone. And my role in the county right now oversees the networking, hosting, and endpoint teams, as well as Connect Arlington. Yeah, that's okay. Totally fine. I'm hearing your request to discuss work done by county staff as it relates to the recommendations from the 2019 Broadband Advisory Committee, and to try and answer any questions. First, let me start by saying, despite the limited outside interest in utilizing dark fiber laid during the Connect Arlington, during the building of Connect Arlington, the county still feels that the program has been, and the investment have been a major success. All of the recommendations made during the report produced by the 2019 committee were reviewed, considered, and action was taken in some way or another on all of them. That being said, they may not all have had the outcomes that both the BAC and the county expected or would have liked. Significant staff time and efforts have been made over the past decade to encourage outside licensing and use of Connect Arlington fiber with mixed success. I do want to take a moment to highlight a few of those successes. In July of 2021, the board entered an IRU with JBG Smith for the 864 count of fiber in the national landing area. And that deal was valued at $3.5 million. The Arlington Free Clinic utilizes Connect Arlington for high-speed, low-latency connectivity to Virginia Hospital Center, and that enables near-instant access for medical records and shared between the two organizations. Marymount University is also utilizing several strands of fiber between various campus locations in the county, and the Animal Welfare League of Arlington is also utilizing Connect Arlington to procure faster and cheaper internet access than they were previously able to do at their South Arlington Mill Drive location. These are all in addition to what we consider the biggest success of Connect Arlington, which is cost savings to both Arlington and Arlington Public Schools after the loss of the iNet in a previous cable franchise agreement over a decade. Over the last 10 plus years, staff have proactively sought licensees with limited success. Excess dark fiber is still available for anyone interested to license. The fact is simply that the demand hasn't been there. A specific dark fiber license agreement was established in May of 2020 after the recommendation for, after the report, for higher education institutions. And as I mentioned, Marymount has taken advantage of that. Also, thanks to Laura, about a year or two ago, we received board approval for a non-disclosure agreement template that enables us to be reused with multiple entities, eliminating the need for board approval for every single NDA. We've had, I think, 2 entities take advantage of that templated NDA over the since that was adopted. It was about 18 months ago. This drastically speeds up our ability to discuss sensitive aspects of the fiber network with interested parties. Connect Arlington was used over the last decade by several innovation pilots and demonstration projects with limited success, albeit some success. And we continue to maintain the unused dark fiber assets, and we're of course open to further conversations with parties interested in licensing Connect Arlington. And with that, we're happy to all take any questions.
Was AT&T one of the, there was an AT&T NDA at one point, wasn't there?
I am not aware.
That was, but that was.
I think that
specific to the dark
Was
fiber.
before the,
Those for edge data computer.
Yeah.
was on the edge, but I thought that was going to be related potentially to
It was,
Connect Arlington. Wasn't, I mean, that was what I guess it wasn't disclosed.
I mean, data centers have to be connected to something.
Probably right. So,
it was related, you said it was related to the edge data.
Right,
center.
right,
If
right.
there was any connectivity conversation, there wasn't much
Can't
that came
talk
out of it. Well, there wasn't much that came out of that either.
Right.
But it was a great effort to make the opportunity for the conversation there,
right.
and then nothing really.
So to summarize kind of my read on the advisory commission recommendations was one of the major barriers to utilization by other parties was the complexity of the licensing agreement. People didn't want to really deal with the complexity of the licensing agreement. Have we solved that or made progress on that? Do we have a simplified licensing agreement that's available to folks?
We have the license agreement we have. Unfortunately, that's the one that's made it out of the attorney's office.
And it's the same one
It's the same one.
that went in. Okay.
I will say though that given the JVG licensing agreement, as well as the licensing agreement with, as Jeff was talking about, with the higher ed consortium, they are willing to review what's there and make adjustments as needed. So I think there is some of that flexibility. That's for them to answer what they would have to change, but as Jeff said, we
Right.
have the licensing agreement we have, but we have seen historically that they are willing to make adjustments.
By they, you mean the
County attorney.
county attorneys are willing to make adjustments.
And if I can add in, we have made multiple iterations to the existing license agreements that we have out there. And so currently we have the master dark fiber license agreement that's open to all entities. And we've got the higher education consortium agreement that's open to higher education institutions. That's a version of the mass dark fiber license agreement that's specifically geared towards higher educational institutions.
I don't want to have a conversation over. I mean, I guess what we're concerned with is how do we get the most value out of the infrastructure that we've laid in the ground, right? We got it at a great deal. We got a lot of non-county tax revenue funding to put it in the ground. It's there and it's underutilized. And so what are the barriers to utilizing it? There are, the advocacy group out there calling for the creation of a municipal broadband because there's the inability through state law for the county to be an ISP. To break down the barriers, there's the licensing agreement, there's the model that we did with JBG Smith. I mean, what do you at this point feel like the barriers are to people utilizing the dark fiber, or getting more value out of it?
And to add to that, is there untapped demand that is being frustrated, in your view, by these perceived obstacles?
Oh, I'm gonna take it.
Sure.
I don't think there's untapped demand. I don't think the obstacle is the franchise agreements or the licensing agreements. It's simply the demand that's there.
We are in a very fiber-rich area, to be honest. And of the people that have pursued the NDA, nobody has pursued further to have conversations. And so I think that's also to be another of showing. As Jeff was saying, various different kind of opportunities for pilots. We've always had to connect on, let's offer that as something that would be of interest. It's not ever been the thing that's moved. It is still an asset, as Jeff was saying. We have here, we're not looking to sell it because who knows what could potentially be used. I think, as you said also, our primary goal of connecting our county and APS buildings and the money we've saved. We cannot forget about that. When we look at the money that we got from the JBG deal, I believe that kind of covered the costs of what we spent for the 864. And now we have this asset that if somebody does want to use it, it's here. But I think we spent a lot of time, honestly, trying to pursue and look at different things. It's here. It's not going anywhere for the next 50 years. Who knows what can come up in the next 50 years?
I think that's a really good point, Holly, that, we could seek to sell it to the highest bidder and recover potentially a little bit of funds, but we just don't know what 50 years could buy us by maintaining this. And it is of very little cost to maintain the unused 864 fiber in the Roslyn-Ballston corridor. And so we're looking at it as an opportunity, a future opportunity when it presents itself.
I was looking at the diagram, the map overlay with the colors earlier today, and I noticed that the economic development, there's economic development color, and then there's the county facilities color. Can you kind of describe the differences between those two?
Yeah, so the 864 fiber for economic development was laid in the Roslyn-Ballston corridor and then in National Landing, and I believe there's a connection between them.
Columbia Pike and Cleve is where, yeah.
And so the board entered the IRU with JBG Smith for that National Landing fiber. They were actually more interested in the conduit than the fiber itself because it's already in the ground and it's significant savings for them to having to go and build again. The county fiber is a lower strand count. So typically 144 strand for DTS and 144 strand for the ITS or Intelligent Traffic System Network that originally funded a lot of Connect Arlington. And so those strands are largely being taken up and in some cases are at capacity in the very highly used corridors for APS and the county. We're at something like 88 county sites, 40 plus, whatever, every school and county APS facility, and then over 300 traffic signals and counting at this point. And so that 864 was the fiber that was laid, never planning to be used for county purposes, but for economic development for these interested parties to license it. So that is a significant amount of fiber that is in the ground available for anyone that's interested. But as we've been saying, the demand hasn't been there. Does that answer your question?
That helps me understand the differences. Anybody else? The largest affordable housing deal development that will probably ever take place in the county is right adjacent to that Columbia Pike corridor and Strand. Has there been any conversations about lighting Barcroft Apartments with Connect Arlington along the lines of what we did at Arlington Mill?
So that was offered to them, to the developer. They were not interested in taking that up. There are two existing providers that are there, Comcast and Verizon. So at this point, that was not a priority for them. This is where the competition for funding dollars for what they're trying to do within that development property and the existence of the two providers. It was not something they wanted to pursue. That was.
Okay. I think that's all.
It doesn't mean that we're not trying to do digital equity, as you all know.
Of
And
course.
you will continue to hear.
Yes, and we support.
I will add, we're also continuing every time, and Mr. Cantonis, obviously Chair Cantonis this year has asked repeatedly, additional outdoor public access for Arlington Wireless. We're continuing to look at that, and it's one of our primary focuses when we build to new sites or lay new fiber to consider the use of outdoor Wi-Fi where appropriate. That has been, that's one of the things we marked as a major success that I didn't talk about in my notes has been since COVID, the free outdoor Wi-Fi, which is continuing. And Holly was heavily involved in that, right? Yeah. So that's been a big success as well.
For sure. Yeah. A lot of things that we're doing, they're great. We're just wanted to get a follow-up on this particular deep dive on this particular topic. So any other questions from anybody else?
Thank you for asking and giving
Yeah,
us the
thanks.
opportunity to.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having me.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I'm going to stick around and be with Tracy this week.
So, Jack,
I do
Oh,
have a
oh.
question, but not on, for staff, but not on this topic. Is that
Okay.
germane or not?
no, we'll move on to that in a second. I did want to check for our virtual participants, Andrea and Jackie, because sometimes I forget to include you, and I want to make sure I don't do that. Do you have any questions for on Connect Arlington before we close the agenda item?
No, I appreciate the brief. Thank you very much.
And wasn't there a licensing agreement with Defense Department? I thought there was connection. I thought at one point, some of our fiber
We have
on across.
We have conduit it's called the Pentagon Run of Connect Arlington. It loops around through Fort Myer and then down. But there's no,
Yeah, I thought that
part of it is that was laid when Dominion was laying electrical lines. We got in on that construction
Oh, okay, so.
and we don't actually even have that lit yet. It's just kind of there. And the problem there is one of the challenges that anyone has with Connect Arlington licensing it is easement and right of access. Try going on to the Pentagon to dig a hole in the ground. People come out.
Maybe it was just
People come out.
just discussions that one.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Done with agenda item 6. Jackie, do you want to save yours for good of the order or?
As long as staff is available. So
As
whenever you want and when's convenient for staff. So I didn't know whether they were staying or not.
We normally stay in these meetings.
Sure.
So
Cool. All right, we'll get to good. We'll do it at good of the order. Legislative update, Frank.
Okay, I did actually prepare this on my flight back from San Francisco today, and I actually was successfully, so it does speak to the robustness of the Alaska Air on board air Wi-Fi. Anyway, they obviously there's been some changes, so we're going to see a complete change on the policy side. Have a new chairman of the FCC, Brendan Carr. He is now taking place, and he's named a number of personnel to fill positions of policy note on the staff side there. Some familiar names to me, and we'll have to see it, but he's already moving about to fulfill some of the policy promises he made. And President Trump has nominated Olivia Trusty to fill the vacancy on the FCC that was created by Jessica Rosenworcel, who's leaving the FCC as of January 20th. So that would have the FCC get to full strength and would give the Republican commissioners a 3-2 advantage. I've not heard any or seen any indications when hearings might be held for her. I think typically FCC commissioners are lower on the on the priority list of getting confirmed. Usually it can take several months.
Yeah, November, you know.
Right,
it's
maybe,
something,
yeah,
yeah.
so we'll see how that goes. And in Virginia, a bipartisan coalition, which is rarity, has emerged in the Virginia legislature to support legislation to regulate the burgeoning data center industry. Among the concerns are areas looking to be regulating power usage and noise and location. So may try to I don't know what would happen in Loudoun County if that. Let's see. The FCC has issued its first CSIS notice. The FCC Enforcement Bureau classified Green Mirage, which I believe is based in India, as a consumer communications information services threat. Green Mirage operates a spoofing operation which calls homeowners basically appearing to be their mortgage lender and carries out a scam. So the FCC is sent out a notice about this Green Mirage, and I guess it's part of the idea to, I think, educate the public about various scams, in addition going after them to try to shut them down. Ted Cruz, Senator from Texas, is the new chairman of the Senate Commerce Committee, and Maria Cantwell from Washington State is the new ranking members. Let's see, the FCC has provided templates so that public safety officials can issue alerts in multiple languages. And finally, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals has effectively struck down the current version of the FCC's net neutrality rules. Now, I would not expect them to come back in this administration. That's all I've got to report.
All right, thanks,
Who
Frank.
chairs the House?
I'm not sure who is, do you know who?
House Energy and Commerce.
On the, since the, I'm not, actually,
I mean, it would be whoever it was this past year.
Yeah, it would be,
But I'm
yeah.
blanking on-
And I don't think they've changed.
So no change.
Yeah, I haven't seen, I've not seen any reports.
No, there hasn't been a revolt.
Yeah, and I think, I'm pretty sure Pallone, who was the chair, is the ranking member. And yeah, I'm not, just not sure. Yeah.
All right, DTS update. Now brought to you by Ms. Hartel.
I think for right now that is the DTS update.
All right.
As of the end of the year, Norm has moved on looking for other opportunities that fit his interest and need. And I was asked to step into this role. There is an active recruitment that just closed on Friday. So they are going to be reviewing the applications and reviewing things quickly. Until then, I am happy.
Good luck. Hopes you get a good boss. Good of the order, Jackie.
Yes, thank you. In conversations with Takas, one of the topics that he is frequently bringing up on his list of serious concerns is AI and potential value and danger in increased AI use by the county. And I guess by others, but as a cybersecurity concern. And he's talked to me fairly extensively about it, and I want to understand what the context is for staff. Is this an area you've been asked to specifically look at in terms of challenges and in terms of potential uses and security challenges? What is the, as I'm hearing the policy concerns, what is the staff role on this area at the moment?
Well, just at a high level, I can say yes to all of that. We are paying attention to policy. We are looking at our own policy. We are considering security, how we're being ethical of anything that we are interested in exploring. We're moving very cautiously and slowly because of some of the security risks and privacy risks and ethical risks, to make sure that what we're doing is not going to do anything that would be putting people at risk. As we're looking at what our implementations could potentially be. So once again, we're taking that very slow. We're looking at it from a use case perspective. thinking about what is it that is best going to benefit the public and what is best going to benefit the efficiencies of our internal county functions.
So the context is, there's a broad context here, but one of the areas is, as we're talking about transparency and how technology can help with more cost efficient and staff efficient ways of finding and identifying data that is both used by staff for operations, but also used by citizens for understanding operations. The suggestion has been made that, for example, for FOIAs and things like that, that using an AI vehicle would considerably expedite it. And in this context, that's one where Takis has said, well, you know, the concerns that would be involved in using such a vehicle are very high, and so he wants to know a lot more before it's something we explore. So I guess my question, to make it very specific, is do you have a particular study or time frame or tasking, and when could we expect some kind of a initial review of potential value, challenges, and security that would be required for increasing the use of AI as a improved efficiency for staff?
I know there's been interest in having someone come talk to this group about AI, and I think that would be something that would make sense in a couple of months, as we're working. And once again, internally being very safe of how we're doing everything. That our focus in our organization is in line with what our policies are. So that was one of the first things that we've done, is created an AI policy that's for us to access and use, and then make sure that we're working with our privacy team, our security team, and others.
So to restate what I think I heard, you don't have a specific board tasking with a specific deliverable or specific timeline, but there is high degrees of interest, and you're working it operationally inside under the auspices of the manager on all aspects.
Very fair way you just said that.
So maybe it could be in the form of a request for some kind of a outline of the areas that you're reviewing and what might be part of a briefing for us at a future time. Because, you know, I can come up with my list, but in some ways, one of the major values is staff that has the broad picture and knows what all the moving parts are. So I would start by wanting to know what you think all the moving parts are that you need to look at, you know, to find things that might be useful that we should be adding, but also to do the infrastructure that we need to have to make sure that that's secure and valuable. So maybe if we could start with a briefing plan, that would be helpful.
Yeah, and we had discussed that with Norin previously last year. We hadn't put a timetable on it, knowing that things are moving very quickly and you guys are exploring and evolving. So wanted to, you know, give you the space to have it become right, so to speak, for conversation. So Jackie, we're definitely in alignment on that, and we will we'll get that scheduled when it's appropriate.
All right, thank you very much. There's also great public interest in this because everyone thinks it's the answer, you know, and clearly it's not the answer, but we want to, you know, check that off.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you identified jurisdictional constraints imposed by the federal government or the Commonwealth with respect
So there's some interesting legislation right now in the Commonwealth.
There's that bill from the delegate from Manassas, right? Yeah, right. I don't know what its prospects are. Do you? The article I read said that if Virginia were to adopt it, it would be only the second state in the union with any such legislation. Colorado is the only one that has
in Connecticut too.
Oh,
Well, I know
they may be looking,
yeah, yeah.
but I wondered whether that would impinge on county.
I think we're looking at analyzing it, right, literally as we speak.
Okay,
Hopefully not as we speak. Because it's
Well,
hopefully,
not-
hopefully those being on our at home. And the only people on are in the 24-hour watch center.
unless AI is doing
The analysis.
the
That's
analysis.
a good point. I guess that really depends on what we, who you include in we, but
Yes.
why don't we say for everyone who has thoughts, queries, questions, concerns on the AI topic for the county, package them up and send them to me and Mike. We will package them up and send them over, and then we can address them in a more systematic and thoughtful way at a date to be scheduled in the
That'd be
future.
great.
Mike, addendum to the legislative report, I just looked it up and there is a new chair.
Yeah, I saw.
House Energy and Commerce Committee. Brent Guthrie, who's Republican, obviously, Second District, Kentucky, took over from Kathy Morris Rogers.
Right, from Washington.
Right. in
Yeah,
Washington
and
State.
Richard Hudson of North Carolina is the chair of the Education Subcommittee of House Energy.
I've not heard of
No, I don't know him at all.
Yeah, I don't know if
Morris
he's- he might
Rogers
be-
was a
yeah.
major.
She was a player, but
She was a
I-
player.
I've never heard of Guthrie.
Well, we're gonna find out.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? I will simply close with a reminder that we are in budget season. So please take a look at last year's budget. Please take a look at our letter from last year. Please start to think through any adjustments or edits we might, or points of emphasis we might want to make as a result of last year. It will be a down budget year again this year. So that's the context that we're in. I believe the manager has put out a range of $30 to $40 million shortfall that needs to be addressed. So we will start the conversation on that probably in February because we will have to have our letter finalized. Our March session will likely be after the county board working session on DTS. So we'll likely have just next month to draft and finalize the letter. It'll be a busy agenda next month because I believe we also have the performance parking pilot update and a couple of digital transformation project brief outs from DTS and associated staff, success stories, which are always lovely. Jackie.
Yes, I know everyone was wanting to end early, so if you want to make this for next time, that's fine with me. But I did want to have an update on the single sign-on work. To me, that was a very significant initiative because I'm hoping it's the Campbell's nose under the tent for DTS to be able to have a broader engagement at the department level with people's with their department systems. So I do want an update on how that is going and what the completion time frame is and what new things may come under that. Because I gather there's some new areas in addition to including all departments. There might be some new areas that citizens could access through that. So that's maybe a report for next time. And then I wanted to let people know that on February 26th, the Civic Federation will be having a work session with the board. And the board has asked us to identify 5 topics, and each board member will be assigned one of these topics. And we will have a dialogue between our leadership and delegates and committee people and board members on 5 topics. One of the topics is transparency. And I know in my conversations, I have already quoted some portions of the strategic plan requests that we included in the letter that we just sent last time. So in talking about transparency and access to data, what the capability of our data systems are at an enterprise level is one of the topics that I will absolutely be including, along with things like, you know, what the intent is to make things available versus what is the capability to make things available. So that, I just want to let you know, we are definitely putting the capabilities of this office at an enterprise level is one of the issues that we're raising as part of how to fulfill open government and good government.
All right. Any other items for the good of the order? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, folks, and good night.
That was an efficient meeting.
Yeah.
Talk to you in February.
You all. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.